we have received a question about the Palestinians. They say it is not true that the Palestinians are terrorists because they attacked defenseless Jews in the kibbutz, killing them, killing women, children, and many people. So, one cannot say, let's defend Palestine with terror, with terrorism, brother. Well, let's see to what extent what they have said is true. Look, if we want to see a story, we cannot start from the middle. I ask you, has the conflict between Israel and Palestine started on October 7th? So, what does it mean that before October 7th, there has never been any conflict, any war, any massacre? Always. Israel has dealt with all kindness, mercy, love. What about the Palestinians? Did a terrorist group like Hamas suddenly emerge and those evil ones attack those good people? That is the question. Since when has it started and who has attacked whom? Who has robbed whom? Who has usurped whom? That is the question. The problem we have is that we do not read history. A person who does not read anything about history can be sold anything. The media gets their money and sells them the story. So in this story, tomorrow, if Germany, then in Germany the Nazis come to power and have money, they will make a movie, and there they will portray Hitler as the good guy in the story. And we all know that Hitler was a genocidal maniac, he was evil, he was it means an animal, a wild person whose fanaticism led him to massacre many people. So, everyone agrees that Hitler was evil, right? Because until today, thank God, what they did in the media was against Hitler. But if we suppose tomorrow what are defenders of Hitler, who unfortunately exist, they are very dangerous people. Tomorrow they will make a movie with Hitler as the good guy. Saddam Hussein will also be the good guy. Even those of Mahmoud Abbas made a sculpture of Saddam Hussein, the murderous dictator of Iraq. They created a television channel to make the dictator of Iran, Muammar al-Assad, look good, which was called Manoto. They created a Zionist channel. A kind person made it. Of the murderous kings of Iran and one of the hundreds of thousands of young people killed by the king of Iran, one was my uncle. He was a university student. Just for sharing words from Imam Khomeini, and they copied and shared them in the mosques. They took him for 3 days, tortured him, and killed him. Imagine, we are living witnesses to the crimes of a king, and now they have created a television channel, selling it to the tyrant, dictator, murderer of Iran as a benevolent king, who only loved his people and thought about the development of his people, because that is where the interest of the media lies. Now, without going into details, I want to ask you a question. Who is currently managing the media these days? Palestinian money. We are living under the dominance of the Palestinians. So they have made us defend the terrorists, making us imagine that those evil terrorists are good people. Or, the total control of the media is in the hands of the Zionists. Let's be honest. Once you understand who controls the media, you will understand to what extent you can trust them. I only have one question. I am not going to judge anything. I just leave everything in your hands. Because you know our limitations when we speak on YouTube, many limitations, I want to ask you the question, first, who started the war against whom? First, the Jews were living in peace in the Holy Land, and suddenly the Ottoman Empire attacked them and erased it, destroying the temple. Then the Muslims attacked them, and later the Muslims usurped the territory of the Jews. Then they began to mistreat the Jews, drove them from their homes, raped their women before their eyes, and killed their children. Did the Muslims do this? Then England came to support the Muslims. The Muslims, for example, went to a refuge of innocent Jews, and there killed 6,000 in Sabra and Shatila. They committed a Holocaust in Sabra and Shatila. It was the Muslims. Sharon was one of the Muslims. And then, due to an attack they received on October 7th, so they attacked and killed more than 30,000 children and women. Was that what the Muslims did? Let's change history. The news. Let's see how you would judge. News. Suppose this is a news story. In a hospital that is called, instead of Shefa Hospital, we will put Shalom Hospital, Hadassah. Hadassah is in Jerusalem. At Hadassah Hospital, the government of the Muslim Palestinians says that there are terrorists there. So, they are going to attack that hospital and kill the nurses, bombing the hospital. And thousands of injured and sick people who are in Hadassah Hospital, which is in Israel, in occupied Palestine, are dying. What would you think of that work? Let's suppose there is a Muslim Palestinian government, and that government has massacred more than 30,000 Tussers, children and women. And just in this hospital, hundreds of women have been raped. What would you think of that government? How about that? It's genocide, isn't it? The UN won't hesitate to pass judgment, to condemn. All the armies of the world will come to support oppressed Israel. Isn't that so? It's true. Let's suppose that what Israel has done against Gaza would be done by a Muslim government. Let's suppose if Iran had done the same as Israel has done in Gaza, Iran would have done it with Tel Aviv. Let's suppose. What would the world's reaction be to that? For example, I showed you. Now, you know that this is in the media to see how people would react. If in Gaza you put Tel Aviv, and instead of Israel bombing, you put Iran bombing, how would the world react against Iran? Undoubtedly, all the armies of the world would come to support oppressed Israel. And when I showed, for example, I said 15,000 Israeli children have died in Iranian bombings. What would you think about that? You would condemn Iran, right? Without a doubt. What would the United States do? Without a doubt, he would have attacked Iran. He would have taken very severe measures against Iran. Now that the case is reversed, we once heard an Israeli minister say, "Look, we consider the Palestinians to be like the Amalekites." So, one of the best ways, the best measures we can take is to drop a nuclear bomb. Israel has it. It has hundreds of nuclear warheads and has never signed those contracts for, what to say? Controls on weapons of mass destruction. He has never signed it. So he does not want to limit his weapons of mass destruction. Israel has chemical bombs, biological bombs. Yes, it already has them. Everyone knows it. Nuclear, atomic bombs. And it is being used against the people of Gaza. Bombs that create a 7-meter hole. Thanks to the United States for giving bombs, killing children. Every 10 minutes a child dies in Palestine. Now listen, I want to ask you, who is a terrorist? A Palestinian. Now if the Palestinians say, "We want to defend ourselves before we are killed, before you rape my wife, before I see my mother torn apart, I will defend my land," that is terrorism. That is the logic of the world. That is the logic of the UN. That is the logic of the United States. Is that acceptable to you? I leave you with your conscience, who has usurped the land from whom. Ask. See the history. Search. I do not want to judge. I want to leave it to your conscience. Where is your conscience, brother? Christian brother, Jewish brother, Muslim brother. Do you not hear the cries of the orphan children in Gaza? Now, look, the worst of the worst that is happening is the following. Even Biden does not accept it. The United States does not accept it. This is what is happening. 2/3 of that small territory of Gaza has been destroyed. Everyone has gathered. More than 1,500,000, some say 1,700,000 ordinary people. They say I don't say it, the UN says they are civilian people. They say terrorists of Hadassah are 40,000. Israel says that we have destroyed from, 24 units of Hadassah, we have eliminated 18. Very well, if you have eliminated those terrorists, 6 units remain. How many are there? In total, they say 10,000, 15,000 are terrorists. I don't want to talk about that. You say 15,000 are from Hadassah, and how many people are there? 1,700,000. And now Israel is Netanyahu said, I am going to attack this place, Rafai. What does it mean? It is going to be an unprecedented massacre. Unprecedented. Is going to be one of the shames of human history, because there are people compressed, and there are no more schools, no more hospitals, no more houses. People are compressed. You drop a bomb, dozens, hundreds die. Now we are facing that great massacre, that genocide. We are approaching winter. For them, it is already a horrible winter that has passed. We have reached spring. They have nothing. The rains come, and they have no protection to take refuge. There are videos that if you see them, the only thing you can do is cry. I was just seeing a little girl, a 10-year-old, and her arm was cut off. A 10-year-old girl. Imagine how it could be your daughter. He has his arm cut off, not from now, but from other attacks by Israel. That is always the gift that Israel sends to Palestinian children. Boom. Why? Netanyahu seeks what he says. They are the Amalekites. And who are the Amalekites? They say, the Bible commands us to kill everything, to burn everything to the anathema. It is like a sacred sacrifice. That is to say, they consider that they are fulfilling a divine law, to kill everything, to burn everything to the anathema. If one has that idea, that if they burn newborn children, pregnant women, they burn them alive. It is a sacred precept. It is fulfilling a sacred law. What would you call that person? Don't you call them a terrorist? Then, who is the terrorist? A Palestinian defending their land. A Palestinian who doesn't want his mother to be killed. A Palestinian who doesn't want to see his newborn son dismembered. The Palestinian who doesn't want to see his wife raped. That is a terrorist. Or the heavily armed army of Israel that sees the Palestinians as mere pests, which considers it lawful to kill them all and calls it just defense. And it views it as a holy war. And it is coming to erase an ethnicity from the map. Who is the terrorist? Thank you very much. Think about it, brother. I leave it to your conscience. May the peace and blessing of God be with all of you.